If you want to capture smooth cinematic footage with your DSLR or your mirrorless camera, then you're going to need a stabilizer. Now for me, what I've been using for the past few months is one of these, a counterweight stabilizer that I got off of Amazon for about $70. It works fine, but the learning curve is a little steep and it's kind of finicky, so very small changes in focus will require rebalancing, and it's just a pain to use. I don't really like it. The good news for me is that after today, this is going in my closet because I now have one of these bad boys. This is a Moza Air 2 gimbal, and I really like this thing. But before I go into that, let's take a look at what comes in the box. The Moza Air 2 comes in a decent quality box, and in it you get 4 Type 18650 rechargeable batteries, the gimbal itself, an extra quick release plate, an intelligent battery charger with 4 slots, a user guide and safety warning, a removable tripod handle mount, a soft case full of control cables and adapters, 2 riser plates, 2 follow focus install pipes. The Moza Air 2 standard package retails for $599. But does the feature set hold up? Does the quality hold up? Well, let's take a look. The gimbal itself weighs about 3 pounds. That doesn't seem very heavy, but when you're running around with camera gear and you're running around shooting for hours at a time, it is heavy. The max payload on this thing is 9 pounds, or around 9 pounds. So in total, you're looking at 12 pounds of potential weight. This is a single-handed gimbal. You can use it with 2 hands, obviously, but it's very tiring, I think. I have a Canon 60D with a Sigma 17-50 lens. Those two combined are about 3 pounds. On top of the gimbal, that's 6 total pounds. Yesterday I was shooting, and after about 30 minutes, I was ready to take a break. So it's pretty heavy. Now keep in mind, the DJI Ronin S and the Xeon Crane 3 are both 4 pounds each. So they're even heavier. I'm not saying that this being heavy is a bad thing. It's just, it's nothing like a DJI Osmo Mobile. This thing has weight to it. In terms of build quality, it feels great, I think. It's robust, it's sturdy, it's made of good material. The handle has some rubbery grip material over it, which helps with comfort. Buttons feel good, joystick feels good. Basically what I'm saying is, this thing feels like something you paid good money for. And obviously you did pay good money for it, for $599. It definitely feels like it could be even more expensive than that. The cradle up here is spacious enough to fit most cameras. Any DSLR or mirrorless camera that you can throw at this thing, it's gonna fit without a problem. And it'll even hold some bigger cameras like the Canon C100. So space is not an issue. And actually the biggest improvement of the Moza Air 2 over the previous Moza Air is this thing right here. The roll motor used to be up here in front of the camera screen. Now when you're out in the field and you're recording, you're shooting, having this motor blocking the screen is very annoying. But now that the roll motor is down here at a 45-degree angle instead of a 90-degree angle, you can see your screen from any angle as you're using the gimbal. It's very nice. Now the Moza Air 2 isn't the first gimbal to do this. The Ronin S does it, and Xeon is starting to do it with their gimbals as well. But the fact that Moza Air 2 implemented this over the previous Moza Air is definitely an awesome point. Balancing the camera is totally simple. As soon as I took it out of the box, I was balanced and ready to go within minutes. All you gotta do is, as soon as you put the camera on, first you balance it this way, and then you balance it this way, and you balance it this way, and then lastly you balance the pan arm. And as you can see, it's pretty much balanced. There's no assembly required with this gimbal. It's pretty much what you see here is how it came in the box. And the downside is that you can't take it apart. This top part doesn't come off. This bottom part does, but even still, I mean, this thing is pretty big. So Portability, not really one of its selling points. One of the best features, at least for me, is that this camera, the camera mounts to a quick release plate, and then the quick release plate mounts onto this base plate here. Now this base plate actually moves on its own. So as soon as the base plate is balanced for your camera, you can slide it on and off using the quick release plate and it won't lose its balance. That's very handy, I think. Now let me see if I can get this back on. Now in terms of controls, the buttons and the joystick and all that, there isn't really anything unique about the Moza Air 2, but whatever it does it well, I think. It takes all the best bits of gimbals on the market, puts it into one neat package here. Let me turn it on and show you for a second. This joystick, you can click it, double click it, or triple click it to lock or unlock each of the 3 axes. So the roll motor, the pan motor, and the tilt motor. Just by clicking the joystick, you can change them on the fly. That's very convenient. You can use the joystick to change the orientation of the camera. I put mine on a really slow speed. You can change that in the settings. And on the back here, or I guess the front, there's a trigger button, and you can double tap it to instantly reorient the camera to horizon, or you can triple tap it to turn it into selfie mode. Now, as I was saying, this thing is pretty heavy, so if you're going to do selfie mode with this, you better get some exercise into your routine because you are going to wear out fast. Now, after you're done with selfie mode or you want to go back, you just double tap. Note that with this gimbal, you can actually change the power setting of each motor on the roll, tilt, and pan axes, so that if you have a heavier camera or a heavier setup, you can put more power into the motors, and if you have a lighter setup, you can use less power on the motors and extend battery life. Now, if you don't know how to set those or how much to set the motor powers, that's fine because this gimbal actually comes with a feature called Autotune. And when you do Autotune, what happens is it automatically does some shaking and some jiggling on each of the 3 axes based on the balance of your camera. And using that, it optimizes the setting for each of the 3 motors. And it only takes, I don't know, 10-15 seconds to do the whole thing. So you can swap cameras, just auto-tune in 15 seconds and you're ready to go. What else does this gimbal do? My gimbal is on pan follow mode, so only the panning axis is going to follow as I move the gimbal around. Now you can kind of see that there's a lag between when I turn and when it follows or catches up. There's a sport gear mode that if you turn on with just the button click, suddenly it's very responsive. There's also an Inception mode that I'm not going to run right now, but basically you hold it like a flashlight. You hold it like a flashlight like this, and you just press the joystick and it kind of does a roll. It's kind of a creative mode that probably you won't use much, if at all, but I mean, if you can find a use for it, sure. Moza also has an app called Moza Master that connects to the gimbal from your phone, allowing you to remotely control the gimbal, remotely change settings on the gimbal. And if you have an officially supported camera that works with a control cable between the gimbal and the camera, you can actually control the camera and the camera settings from the app itself as well. Lastly, let's talk about battery life. The Moza Air 2 uses 4 Type 18650 batteries, which are rechargeable, and you can buy replacements wherever you buy your batteries. Using the 4 batteries that come with the gimbal, the theoretical battery life is about 16 hours, and I found that to be pretty true using a 3-pound camera setup. The batteries are very easy to change. You just press down on this button down here, which off comes the battery cap, and the batteries are right here. You just take them out, put in new ones, fresh ones, and you're good to go. Just like that. Now the thing is not everyone likes a setup like this. Now what happens if you don't have an extra set of batteries or all of your batteries are dead? The Moza Air 2 actually has the best of both worlds, because in some other gimbals like the DJI Ronin S, you can't take the battery out. It's built into the gimbal. And when the gimbal is dead, you have no choice but to keep charging it or to go recharge it. The Moza Air 2, you can have those backup batteries on hand, but if you don't, it actually also has a USB-C port on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Plug in a power bank or some other external source of power, and it'll keep the gimbal going. What don't I like about this gimbal? It's heavy. There are lighter gimbals out there like the recently released Xeon Weebill, or some people call it Weeble, the Crane Plus, Crane 2, Fiutech. There are other gimbals out there, is what I'm saying. This is a monster for serious filmmaking and serious shoots, or just people who are buff. Sometimes the screw that keeps the camera mounted to the quick release plate loosens as I'm using the gimbal. And when it loosens, the motors have a hard time, because it's not stable, it kind of starts shaking and vibrating. I mean, the camera has never fallen off, and I don't fear that it will, but it's surprising when it happens, and it's probably user error. How about performance? I was surprised by how well this performed. I took some quick tests the other day without any camera stabilization, without any warp stabilizer, nothing tricky, no slow-mo. It's all 100% speed. I'll play the clips now so you can see a comparison between handheld and the gimbal in action. So what are my final thoughts? It's good. That was the Moza Air 2 gimbal. Thanks for watching this review, and please remember to like and subscribe if you want more tech reviews and tech instructional videos from Make Use Of.